Hello, my friends. Thanks for coming. I apologize up front about the Siamese cat. Have you ever wondered if your personal healing comes from within, or do you believe it comes predominantly from the things you do from the outside? I want to share with you a meditation that I did in 1988. It begins, healing is an art because it draws from within the patient's ability to heal. The patients from olden time could truly entice people to heal themselves because they brought psychology into coaching people back to health. Patients would describe their illness in their own words, and then the doctor and the patient would talk together about the idea of how to return to health. Now, some of this influence on the patient had to do with the smallest of rituals. When doctors used to come to the house and up the stairs, maybe handing their coat off to somebody, they carried a symbolic black bag, and the doctor himself was a familiar person to the patient. All of these contributed to the patient developing the will to heal. The geniuses of some of the doctors from the olden days, that gift has been, pretty rare in our times. This ability to inspire people to heal is few and far between with the doctors in our current state of medicine. Some doctors who understand the healing arts are seeking to put healing into a holistic terminology because they understand that healing entails all levels and layers of the patient. So they're trying to offer a healing perspective along with medicines and the technical advances. Some are indeed trying to incorporate the parts of current technology into the real concept of self-healing. These are the physicians that are trying to unify modern technology with the healing arts. But even if a doctor might try and implant the idea of healing in a person's mind, the person might be so attached to their own concept of illness, or their identifying with an illness, no matter what procedure was used. If a patient truly desires wellness, then that desire amplifies whatever benefit any medicine or procedure might have. Of course, some patients are so weakened by the accident, illness, injury, trauma, that they need a lot more input into their care from the people around them. And then he mentioned that sometimes animals can offer this caring. It is mostly people, though, that are needed by a patient. The will to heal may be in the patient's intent, but if a person is too weakened, the other people that surround him, who love them, who take care of them in a very vital way, caretakers share their personal energy, transferring their energy and love to a patient or family member on several different levels. Say someone prays for someone to get well, or if they form a prayer group or circle, it's incredibly powerful. It's the transfer of God energy or spirit energy to the soul of the ill person. If a caregiver massages or washes a patient, they're administering aid or hope to the physical level. This physical support also goes for the nutritional needs of a patient. When a ill person is fed life-giving vegetables and fruits and nuts and proteins, food can transfer life energy. And so, of course, the food given to the sick person has to be chosen very carefully. But the nutrition is a very key part. Feeding the individual is also nurturing an ill person. An ill person has to amass as much energy as they can on every level. So mental and emotional caring comes from visits to the person who is ill. It shouldn't be draining, but sitting and allowing the person to complain, maybe reading a book to them, bringing music into a sick room, can offer tremendous support on a mental level. Caregivers are an element that's been overlooked with the fascination with our technology. We have a lot of fascination with human toys and gadgets, but when a person is very ill, they are dependent on outside sources of energy. Self-healing automatically takes place because of the simple living mechanism that our body has in its own plan. Our bodies have their own plan from God. Our body tries to restore itself from the tiny scrapes to the largest of imbalance or diseases or traumas. But we humans purposefully and pointedly disrupt the function of our physical body constantly. Our body struggles against this to rebalance itself and bring itself back to health all the time. Sadly, we misuse, abuse, overuse, or exhaust our bodies from a lack of self-love to a point where it doesn't have the capacity to self-heal. And at this point, a disease can become manifest. But if our body could have been maintained through proper diet, rest, exercise, these things maintain our physical health. But we think we have the right to cause imbalances in our body because we can't separate the identity of the body from the identity of the self. But we all know how fragile our body is. That if we were cut the liquid that forms the hydraulic system for the entire body, in other words, blood would run out and we could bleed to death. Physicians of old applied their remedies and repairs with what they had available to them, such as herbs, medicine, or any necessary physical applications, such as splints or bandages. They started with the obvious injury. If a horse kicked somebody and broke a bone, the doctor would address the tangible, obvious damage to the body. But they also understood that the patient's will to heal was the integration of mind and spirit and emotion in the healing process. That was important to the outcome. And in olden days, religious leaders such as rabbis, shamans, pastor, priests visited the patients to inspire them and to hearken them to the love of life again. Lack of fear is a key for any process in life. This fearlessness or trust can determine the effectiveness of any healing that's undertaken. So managing pain is a very important part of healing. And we have this in our technology. It helps the patient not generate fear about what is happening to their body. It's fear that must be avoided. And then he referred to some of the more sort of magic or outside the box healers, which in our mind might seem ludicrous, but some of the shamanic rituals and some of the practices in some religions can eliminate fear in a patient and can instill a belief in health in a patient. Now, some of these things can appear to be magic, but they can be effective because the person themselves are the only possible healer. if somebody does go to a hospital for extensive testings and elaborate procedures, but believes that these things are going to work, then these overly complex systems can be effective. These choices can offer enough faith in healing so people can reevaluate and change a decision about the course of their own illness. And this is something doctors have no control of. Now, there was so much in this meditation that took me back to the last year in one of my brother's life. I mean, we had full-time caregivers because neither his wife or I could pick him up. And they both, there was one caregiver for daytime and one caregiver for overnight. They both prayed for my brother. They bathed him. They laughed with him. My brother, though, was determined to embrace all medical options he had for his cancer. And some might say he deferred to the hospital's plan, and we honored his choice. But in the last months of his life, I fed him berry pies because there was no reason that he should eat anything else. He was ashamed of being in a wheelchair, but he did get to his son's graduation. And as horrible as it was to witness his decline, he was so surrounded by love. So I would like to know your thoughts on this somewhat unusual meditation, because to me it addresses the blending of medical intervention, caregiver care, and beliefs that we might carry related to self-healing. So thanks for coming today. And until I see you again, please be well and please be blessed. Thanks for coming.